grabbed one big mouthful of cat food and he trotted out the door behind me with stuffed cheeks. We flew through the barn and threw open the back door, and there was Gorp. Gorp, what happened? Why are you all wet? Gorp flung his arms in the air. How do you think Gorp is feeling? Look at his face. Everything went wrong. Everything, he sputtered. First, on the way back to my cave, everything stuck to me. Dirt, leaves, twigs, and even little flying bugs. I looked ridiculous. Oh no. Of course. Sugar water would be sticky. Why hadn't I thought of that? I guess because I'd used a spoon instead of my hands, I couldn't feel the stickiness at all. He continued. I thought that was the worst of it, but I was wrong. It got much worse. I woke up to ants crawling all over me this morning, even in my ears. Oh no, I had forgotten how much ants like sweet things, and sugar water is very sweet. Well, it must have seemed like a giant monster-shaped candy to the ants. I ran and I jumped into the stream and then came straight here, he said. My fur didn't get any mold, but this was so much worse. Oh, Gorp, I am so sorry. I can't believe I didn't think of the stickiness. Or, here's a picture of him all grossified. The ants. Oh man, I had totally messed up. I put my head in my hands. I was too embarrassed to look Gorp in the eye. Sassafras bumped my leg. Meow. I looked down to see why he was making that weird noise, and he had a Ziploc bag in his mouth. Of course. Sassafras, you're a genius. I picked him up and kissed him on the head. Gorp made a sour face. It's not over yet. We still have 2 more things we can try, and this time I promise I'll choose more carefully. I opened the bag marked salt that Sassafras had brought over. I reached in to feel. My shoulders slumped. No, the salt water fur is sticky too. Gorp's eyes filled with tears, and his lip. I'm going to predict the word quiver. It's on the next page. Trembled. Ooh, that's another good word. I give up. Nothing will work. I'll never get to go to the monster ball. Don't cry, Gorp. We still have the vinegar to try, I said. But I was worried. I took a deep breath. This had to work, right? Vinegar wasn't sticky. My hands were never sticky after playing with my baking soda and vinegar. A little gritty from the baking soda, maybe, but definitely not sticky. I slowly reached one finger inside the bag, and I gave the vinegar-covered Gorp fur a quick poke. I looked up at Gorp, and he smiled. Feel it. I took his hand and put it inside the bag. It's not sticky. A smile slowly spread across Gorp's face. He grabbed a handful of vinegar fur from inside and pulled it out. Then he twisted his head to his side, squeezed with his eyes closed, and stuck out his tongue. This smells terrible. Oh no, I can't stink, he wailed. The vinegar smell had made me wrinkle my nose too. It did stink. In fact, I hated the smell of vinegar. Which is why I had a solution. I grabbed Gorp by the shoulders. It's going to be okay. Trust me. I can fix the smell. Wait here. I ran into the house and quickly searched the pantry until I, look at his face, he smelled the vinegar, found a tiny bottle of peppermint extract. Thanks, Mom, I whispered as I grabbed it and the bottle of vinegar and dashed to the barn. Gorp had stopped crying, but I could tell that after these ups and downs, he didn't think he'd ever go to the monster ball. I twisted off the cap of the vinegar bottle and added a few drops of peppermint extract into it. I put the cap back on and shook the vinegar bottle twice. I poured some of the new vinegar over Gorp's fur samples. Smell it now. Gorp took a small sniff, then a bigger sniff, then a really, really big sniff. That smells wonderful, he exclaimed, and it won't make me sticky. Ants don't like vinegar, right? Nope, it's not sticky, and ants don't like it. You can go to the monster ball and you won't be moldy, and you'll smell like candy canes. Gorp grabbed me in a giant, wet, furry monster hug. I couldn't help from smiling. I was so relieved to find something that worked. Gorp held the bottle to his chest and gave me a huge smile. Thank you, Zoe. This means so much to me. I was super excited for Gorp. I kind of wished I could go to the monster ball, too, to see him at the ball with all of his friends. There he is, super happy. Then it hit me. The camera! Maybe Gorp could take a picture for me while he was there. It wouldn't be as good as going myself, but when you take a picture of a magical creature, some of the magic stays with the photo. So having the photo would be like having a little bit of monster ball with me. Gorp? Before you go, can I ask you a favor? Would you be willing to borrow my camera and take a picture at the monster ball? And then maybe afterward you could come by for a visit and tell me all about it? Before I had the chance to say no, I ran into the barn and grabbed my science journal and my camera and showed him how the camera worked and what the photo was. He carefully picked up the camera with one hand and looked at it. I will bring your machine to the dance with me, and I will do my best to get you a photo. Chapter 13, last one. Thank you. Sassafras watched from the edge of my sandbox as I erupted one of our sand volcanoes. After hearing about the success, Mom had taken a special trip to the store to stock up on vinegar. I buried another plastic bottle with baking soda inside under the stand. I made sure that only the opening of the bottle peeked out, and then I reached for more peppermint-scented vinegar. The smell of peppermint reminded me of Gorp. Today was Friday, and Gorp had told us that the Monster Ball was on Thursday. I was hoping he had gone and had a great time. I poured the vinegar into the bottle, and some of the white bubbles flowed down the side of the volcano and got on Sassafras's paw. He leapt up and shook his paw wildly to get the bubbles off. Oh, Sassafras! I couldn't help laughing. Suddenly he froze mid-paw shake and took off purring into the forest. I stood up. Could it be Gorp? I ran after Sassafras and found him at Gorp's feet. He was once again staring up lovingly at the big monster. Gorp looked worried until he saw me. Then he smiled. He had my camera and a photo in one hand, but the other hand was hidden behind his back. I couldn't wait to see the photo of the monster ball. I ran over to him and gave him a big hug. So we thank you for all of your work solving my mold problem. I had a great time at the monster ball. See? Gorp handed me the photo. He looked fancy in a bow tie and his arms around two other monsters. All three were... There she is exploring her volcanoes with Sassafras. Laughing. In fact, I thought I could hear it. I put my ear closer and grinned. The sound of deep belly laughs was definitely coming from my photo. I can see and hear that you had a great time. I held it up to Gorp's ear. Whoa, he said. I pointed to a cake in the background. And there was cake? Yes. My aunt's famous mud cake with grub sprinkles. Delicious. My stomach flipped at the thought of grub sprinkles. Oh, yum, I managed to squeak out. I should have saved you a slice. He shook his head. But I did get you these, though. Clutched in his hand he had been hiding behind his back was a big bunch of green and brown weeds, complete with dirt-covered roots. I stared for a minute, not sure what to make of it. Cora pushed it toward me one more time. It's a bouquet for you, Zoe. Oh, I took the bouquet of weeds and grinned. Thank you so much, Gorp. You didn't have to get me anything, though. I'm so glad you finally went to the monster ball. Me too. Do you know what the funniest part was? Everyone kept asking where I'd been at the other monster parties. And when I talked about I don't know if you can see it, you can kind of see the little monster in the picture. Moldy fur. They all said they didn't care about it. I was worried about nothing this whole time. Although I must admit, I enjoy no longer being moldy. And now I smell good. I sniffed the air and caught a whiff of candy cane. Yum, you sure do. He glanced over his shoulder. I'm sorry I can't stay for long. I promised my friends I'd go on a hunt for glowing salamanders with them. I hope you will still come visit us sometimes. We'd be happy to make sure you always have pepperminty vinegar for your fur. Gorp gave me one last hug and then reached a finger down and gently tapped Sassafras once on the head. Sassafras dissolved into a loud, rumbly purring. Gorp smiled uneasily and waved. Then he headed into the forest to play with his monster friends. Sassafras and I went into the house. I grabbed a vase and filled it with water and tried to arrange the weeds, as well as anyone could arrange a bouquet of weeds anyway. My dad came into the kitchen and raised an eyebrow when he saw what I was doing. It's a bouquet from a friend, I told him. Kind of a strange friend you've got there, Zoe. Aren't bouquets supposed to be made of flowers? I laughed and nodded. There she is getting her bouquet from Gorp. I took the bouquet into my room and I set it on my desk next to my science journal. Sassafras jumped up and pawed at the pages of the journal until it opened to Gorp's picture. He rubbed his face against it, purring loudly, and then he drooled a little on Gorp's photo. Ew, Sassafras, that's so gross. I flipped to a new blank page in the science journal to keep the photo safe from further cat drool. As I left my room with Sassafras tucked under my arm, I turned back to look at my open journal on the desk. I couldn't help but grin, imagining what magical friend we'd meet next. I'm going to stop it here, and I will see you all again tomorrow. Air hugs to everybody.